Hey there, superhero fans. Ever wonder how Iron Man became the ultimate hero? Well, buckle up, because today we're unraveling the mystery behind the man in the iron suit. From genius billionaire to armored avenger, Tony Stark's journey is packed with twists and turns. Join us as we dig deep into the origins of his legacy, exploring the tech, the challenges, and the heart that made Iron Man a legend. Get ready to suit up and soar through the skies. This is Iron Man 2008, Unmasking the Origins of Tony Stark's Legacy.
And then enters Tony Stark. Tony Stark is a genius and a rich guy who comes to the US Army where a missile test named Jericho is taking place. The missile is designed to destroy any country, and after the deal, Tony is on his way back with some soldiers in a car. However, terrorists attack, killing all the soldiers. Tony escapes the car to save his life, but the missile from his own company, Stark Industries, lands nearby. Tony tries to escape the explosion but gets severely injured as the missile explodes. Then we see a scene 36 hours earlier in the story, where Tony is nominated for the Arms Dealer of the Year, and his deceased father, Howard Stark, started his Stark Company with his friend Stain, where they wanted and discovered many new inventions for the benefit of the people. In Tony's absence, Stain takes his vote for the award. Tony sees James Rhodes there. Next, we see Tony Stark in a casino playing gambling, and James comes to him to give his vote for the award. However, Tony declines the vote, saying he has no place for awards. Then, reporter Christine Everhart approaches Tony for an interview. They discuss the ethics of weapons business, and Tony predicts that there will be a time when a world war breaks out, and without weapons, how will they protect their people? During this conversation, something happens between them, and both reporters end up at Tony's house. Then a presentation scene is shown, and Tony's condition is very critical. Wires are connected to his chest, and a person named Jensen explains that during an explosion, many shrapnels entered Tony's body, making it difficult to remove them. So, he created an electromagnet that would prevent the shrapnels from reaching Tony's heart. If the electromagnet is removed, Tony will die. The terrorist leader, Rasa, reveals that they have captured Tony and will release him only when he builds a Jericho missile for them. They want to attack the US with the missile, but Tony refuses. In the meantime, Stain shows Tony all the weapons made by Stark Industries that the terrorists are selling to both the US Army and others. Now, having the right to all those weapons, Tony and others arrive at the market, selling all the weapons to the terrorists and others at high prices. Now, they demand Tony build a second sample of the Jericho missile. Then we will let you go from here. Tony returns to the cave and starts talking from there, asking if there is any way out. Jensen tells him about a mountainous area and says there is no escape from there, not even with the army. Tony shares about his family with PNSI, expressing the urgency to leave. PNSI suggests creating a diversion by turning Stain into Iron Man. Tony agrees, and they start working on the suit. Tony extracts an element called palladium from all the missiles, a unique element that acts as a power source for the arc reactor. The electromagnet in Tony's chest is powered by a battery that cannot supply power for a long time. So, Tony decides to create an arc reactor and goes to the terrorist leader, explaining that they need more supplies. The terrorists provide the required materials to build the missile, and Tony finally creates the arc reactor. The terrorists don't understand what Tony is creating. Tony then shows Jensen a blueprint of the suit and explains that their goal is to power this suit with the arc reactor. Tony proceeds to create the entire suit, and during this process, the terrorists become suspicious. When Tony is about to test the suit, he realizes that the terrorists have caught on. As they advance to stop Tony, Jensen confronts them to give Tony some time to power up the suit. In the meantime, Filch shoots Tony, injuring him. Tony feels upset about this, and with a burst of anger, he takes on all the terrorists and leaves the cave. Breaking through the walls, he escapes to a desert and crashes there, naming the suit Mark I. He breaks free and starts moving forward. Then James' team rescues Tony from there and brings him to California. Upon reaching Malibu, Tony instructs his bodyguard, Happy Hogan, to quickly arrange a press conference. Happy organizes the press conference, and when Tony arrives, the media welcomes him. The reporters start questioning Tony about what happened in Afghanistan, and Tony explains that terrorists attacked him in Afghanistan, using weapons manufactured by his own company. Tony Stark declares in the press conference that he is shutting down all weapons manufacturing in his company. During the conference, Tim interrupts, stating that Tony is still in shock due to the fear in Afghanistan, making such statements. Tony agrees to discuss everything with Tim later, and the press asks Tony about his experiences in Afghanistan. Tony reveals that terrorists attacked him, captured him, and forced him to build missiles. However, He escaped by creating the Iron Man suit. Tony then shows Station his arc reactor and explains that it's a brilliant invention. Station suggests taking it worldwide, but Tony declines and leaves. After Tony, being a genius and a rich man, improves his arc reactor, he creates a new suit and summons Pepper Potts to fit the new arc reactor into his body, replacing the old one. Later, we see terrorists finding the Mark I suit in the desert. Tony, back in his lab, starts working on a new project called Mark II. He perfects the suit and integrates the new arc reactor. Tony then invites Pepper to check the suit's capacity. For a suit check, Tony takes off from his home into the sky. As Tony needs to determine the capacity of the Mark II suit, he interacts with his AI named Jarvis. He instructs to generate full power in the suit. He wants to go as high as possible, and when Tony reaches a height of thousands of feet in the sky, ice forms on his suit, causing it to shut down. As a result, Tony starts falling towards the ground, but he manages to clear the ice from his suit and restarts it. After testing Mark III, he returns home. Upon arriving, he sees that Pepper Potts, using the paper pots he ejected earlier, has decorated the area. She sends him a gift as proof that Tony also has a heart. Seeing this gift, Tony is overjoyed. Now, as Tony learns that when Mark goes too high, ice forms on it, he makes some changes to the suit's metallic design and uses titanium and gold inside the suit. This prevents ice from forming when the suit reaches extreme altitudes. Meanwhile, a TV announcement states that Tony Stark is hosting a magnificent party, but Tony realizes he hasn't been invited. Despite this, he goes to the party, where he meets Pepper Potts and spends some time with her. Later, Christina informs Tony that she has seen many missiles, similar to the Jericho missile he sold to Afghanistan, in her village near the Gulmira region. Angry and suspicious, Tony questions Stane and learns that Stane has been conducting weapons business independently. Tony, enraged, upgrades his suit even further with weapons and creates the new Mark III suit. He heads to Gulmira, where terrorists are gathering people for nefarious purposes. After defeating the terrorists, Tony finds out that the real threat is his own Stark Industries weaponry, and he decides to put an end to it. Tony destroys the terrorists in Gulmira with the help of his suit, and as he comes out from there, he learns that the missiles are still in their camp. He leaves the missiles and destroys all of them. The news of this explosion reaches the Edward Air Force. Using their satellites, they try to determine which plane caused the explosion. They find out that a small plane has entered their area, but they can't locate it. Since Tony's Iron Man suit is small and hard to catch, he calls his friend James and tells him that he is the one flying the plane. James, a pilot, assures Tony that the plane must belong to an enemy of their enemy, someone who has finished their enemy. They don't need to worry about it, and then they return with the plane. Reporters ask James about the attack in Afghanistan, and the general reveals that there was a fight between two enemies, and it seems like someone has finished their enemy. When new James Stone learns about this, it feels like someone is ready to fight with him. Then he goes and meets Station. Tendering tells him that Tony Stark was the one who caused the destruction. He has Tony's Mark I suit. If they want to save their lives, he can provide them with the design of that suit, but Station deceives Tendering and takes all the Mark generations with him. On the other hand, Tony learns that Station is behind all these terrorists, and Tony tells Pepper to extract important information from their computers through paper, as now if Station has crucial company information, he can create problems for the whole world by selling it to terrorists. Then Pepper arrives at Stane's office, starts his computer, plugs in a flash drive, and begins extracting all the information. She finds a file that reveals Stane ordered the terrorists to kill Tony. Pepper decides to expose this information and confront Stane, but he tries to negotiate, claiming he wants to return everything. Pepper, however, manages to escape. When Stane checks his computer, he realizes that Pepper has taken all the important information. Next, we see Phil Coulson, who is with S.H.I.E.L.D. He tells Pepper that they need an interview with Stark, and now that she knows Stane is keeping an eye on her, she won't let her go. She takes Coulson's help to conduct the interview. Meanwhile, Stane is in danger as he knows Tony will be there soon. He meets his scientist to inquire about the progress of the arc reactor. The scientist informs Stane that their reactor is not yet complete, and Stane gets disappointed. He goes straight to Tony's house, and when he meets Tony, he attacks him with a weapon that temporarily paralyzes Tony due to the wave it emits. Taking advantage of this situation, Stane removes the reactor from Tony's chest and leaves with it. Due to the removal of the arc reactor, Tony slowly loses his strength. Stane, holding the reactor, creates a new suit based on the Mark I design. He removes the arc reactor from Tony's chest, and as a result, Tony starts to weaken. However, he manages to reach his lab and creates a new version of the Iron Man suit with the help of the Mark I design. Iron Monger, and as soon as Stain installs the arc reactor in the suit activates. When Iron Man reaches Iron Monger to stop him, a spectacular fight ensues between the two. They fight fiercely, and as the battle progresses, they end up on the road. While fighting, Tony realizes that Iron Monger is a formidable suit, and he won't be able to defeat him straightforwardly. He needs to do something more to defeat him. Then Tony remembers that going to a higher altitude can freeze the suit. He takes Iron Monger and the people up into the sky, and as they go higher, ice forms on Iron Monger's suit. He starts falling, but after a while, Iron Monger restarts, and they engage in another round of combat, both falling. On the lab's roof, Tony calls Pepper and asks her to overload the arc reactor in the Love Creator, which will impact Iron Monger's suit, and he will escape from there. Hearing this, Pepper starts the dark reactor with full power, causing a massive wave. Iron Monger gets caught in the wave, and Tony seizes the opportunity to escape. The next day, Tony is called for a press conference, where reporters ask him many questions. Tony reveals his identity to everyone, declaring that he is Iron Man. In the post-credits scene, Fury comes to Tony's house, identifying himself as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He tells Tony that he has come to appoint him for the Avengers initiative, concluding the movie.